Every single day we face battles, not always with the world, but within ourselves. The war between who we are and who we know we could become. And the difference. Emotion. Emotion is the invisible force that drives every decision, every action, every breakthrough, and in every breakdown. Master your emotions and you master your life. Let them control you, and you become a passenger. Reacting, blaming, collapsing when things don't go your way. But listen, you are not built to be a prisoner of circumstance. You are built to be a creator of destiny. Bridge between where you are and where you want to go is built on emotional control. You don't rise by chance. You rise by choice. And the first choice is how you feel. In the moment where everything is on the line, fastest way to change how you feel is to change what you're doing with your body. Emotion isn't just something that happens in your head. It's something that's experienced in your entire nervous system. About the last time you felt completely overwhelmed or discouraged. Your shoulders were probably slumped. Your breathing was shallow. Your voice got quieter. Your energy dropped. Now, contrast it with the time you felt absolutely unstoppable. When you were proud, powerful, determined. You stood taller. You breathed deeper. You moved with purpose. That's not a coincidence. That's physiology at work. Body is the vehicle through which you access every emotional state, every feeling you want to generate. Confidence, focus, courage, joy, peace. It all begins with movement. Too many people are trying to think their way into a better mood while their body is sending signals of fear, doubt, and hesitation. That's a losing strategy. You don't get confident by sitting still, crossing your arms, and overanalyzing everything that could go wrong. You get confident by moving your body into a position of strength. You generate it through action. You breathe like a winner. You stand like a leader. Move like you're already who you're trying to become. Most people don't realize how much their body is controlling their life. They wake up feeling tired. They shuffle their feet, stare at their phone, and wonder why they feel unmotivated. But the moment you take command of your physical state, your emotions begin to shift with it. Want to feel energized? Start with 3 deep, powerful breaths and get your blood pumping. Want to feel powerful? Get up and take 10 fast steps with your chest up and head high. You're not at the mercy of your emotions. You're at the mercy of your motion. Think about athletes. Before they perform, what do? They warm up. They jump. They shake. They prime their bodies. Why? Because they know that the body leads and the mind follows. If that works for champions in stadiums, it works for you in your living room, your office, your car, your life. You don't need to wait for inspiration. You can trigger it. You can hack it. You can activate it through movement. This is not theory. It's science. Your body and brain are constantly sending feedback to each other. When you slump, your brain gets the message we're tired, we're weak, we're uncertain. When you move with force, your brain hears something different. We're alive, alert, we're ready. That feedback loop is instant and powerful. When you understand how to control it, you can create emotional shifts in seconds. Honest. Waiting around for a positive emotion to magically arrive is a losing game. You don't wait. To feel motivated, you move into motivation. You don't wait to feel joy through the way you carry yourself. You don't wait to feel confident. You embody it before it even shows up. Because you are not your feelings. You are not the sum of your doubts, the director of your state. And state begins with the way you breathe, the way you move, and the way you present yourself to the world. Even when no one is watching, the reason this matters is because why isn't wait for you to feel ready? Opportunities don't knock when you're in a perfect emotional state. Challenges won't pause while you get your mind right. Life moves fast, and if you want to win, you've got to learn how to shift your state on command. That starts with the body. That starts with owning your physiology before it owns you. The energy you bring into a room, into a relationship, into a decision, it's all based on what state you're in. And your state is built, not found. Created, not inherited. You could have all the right tools, all the right plans, all the right knowledge. But if your body is operating in a low energy, fearful, sluggish posture, your results will never reflect your potential. You can't perform at a peak level from a place of emotional stagnation. But when you begin your day with power in your breath, strength in your posture, and intention in your movement, something changes. You start thinking clearer. You start acting bolder. You stop waiting and start creating. You become the version of yourself that no longer reacts, but responds with purpose. Every emotional state you experience, whether it's joy, anger, fear, or sadness, comes from a pattern. These patterns are like grooves in your nervous system, carved out over time by repetition. And once you fall into a pattern, especially a negative one, your mind keeps running it like a program. The same thoughts, the same reactions, the same downward spiral. It becomes automatic. And most people live their entire lives reacting to situations without ever realizing they have the power to interrupt that pattern at any moment. That interruption is your path to freedom. You've got to understand patterns don't just show up in what you do. They show up in how you feel, how you think, how you speak, and how you move. You wake up, check your phone, see something negative. The day starts in a pattern of stress. That stress becomes your lens. Then your energy drops. You speak with less passion. You react more emotionally. That's not just your mood. That's a pattern kicking in. The more you let it run, the deeper it gets. Eventually, it turns into a prison built by your own unconscious habits. But the key is in your hand the whole time: pattern interruption. Interrupting a pattern doesn't mean suppressing your emotions. It means becoming aware enough to say, this isn't serving me, and then doing something radical enough to snap out of it. The moment you notice yourself falling into an emotional loop, you've got to do something different. Something physical, intense, something that shocks your nervous system. Clap your hands, shout something powerful, jump up, run, splash good water on your face, change your environment, move your body, change the music. Anything but stay stuck in the same rhythm that's pulling you down. Most people never break their emotional patterns because they believe they need to think their way out of them. But logic doesn't overpower emotion. Action does. You can't rationalize your way out of anxiety while sitting still, breathing shallow, and thinking the same fearful thoughts. You have to disrupt it, shock the system. You have to create a break in the signal. That break creates space. And in that space, you have choice. You have power. This is how transformation begins. Not with grand gestures, but with small moments of self-awareness followed by decisive action. You're angry. Break the pattern before it consumes you. You're afraid. Break the pattern before it paralyzes you. You're feeling defeated. Break the pattern before you start believing you're not enough. The moment you interrupt the loop, you regain control. That moment is everything. Because the longer you stay in a negative state, the stronger it becomes. Stronger it becomes, the harder it is to escape. That's why you don't wait. You act. You've got to train yourself to become a pattern disruptor in your own life. Watch yourself. Catch the triggers. Notice when you start falling into the same story, the same reaction, the same energy. And instead of feeding it, flip it. Break it. Shock it. Destroy the rhythm that leads you nowhere and replace it with one that fuels your power. You can't think your way into a new life. You have to break the pattern of your old one. This isn't about pretending you're okay when you're not. This is about choosing to stop letting emotions run your life like background noise. You don't just drift into greatness. You don't accidentally become emotionally free. You decide. And you enforce that decision with bold action again and again until the pattern changes. Until you are no longer reacting from the past, creating from the present. People wait for their emotions to change before they act. Champions act to change their emotions. That's the shift. That's the truth. And once you feel the power of pattern interruption, you'll never again believe you're stuck, because being stuck is just being unaware. And once you're aware and you move, the whole game changes. You are no longer just surviving your own emotional storms. You're learning to redirect them, to own them, to use them. The questions you ask yourself every single day determine the quality of your emotions, your focus, your decisions, and ultimately your life. Most people don't realize it, but their internal dialogue is constantly firing questions, and those questions shape their emotional state in real time. What if I fail? Why does this always happen to me? What's wrong with me? Why can't I ever get ahead? These questions don't lead to answers, they lead to doubt, fear, frustration, and paralysis. Your brain is like a GPS system. Ask a negative question, and it will scan your entire mental database to deliver an answer that matches the tone. If you ask low-quality questions, you get low-quality emotions. It's automatic. It's habitual. And it can quietly destroy your confidence from the inside out if you're not paying attention. But the moment you become aware that you're in charge of the questions, everything changes. Realize that you don't have to be the victim of negative thought patterns. You can direct them. You can guide your focus by asking better, more empowering questions. Because where focus goes, energy flows. The mind can't help but answer a question you pose to it. So you must be ruthless in the quality of the questions you allow into your mental space. What can I learn from this? How can I use this pain to grow stronger? The next best step I can take right now. How would the strongest version of me handle this? These questions ignite possibility. They open the door to resourcefulness, courage, and personal power. Deny challenges. They redefine them. They don't ignore pain. They transform it into progress. In a moment of stress or fear, one powerful question can break the emotional pattern and create a flood of clarity. That's how fast your life can pivot. When you take control of your focus through language, you were never meant to be passive with your thoughts. You're built to lead your own mind. Being your mind begins with mastering your questions. Every time you ask a question, you direct your subconscious to find an answer. That means, in the middle of chaos, the power to train your mind to seek strength instead of weakness, growth instead of fear, possibility instead of problems. The questions are the steering wheel. You decide where to turn. You see, people who constantly ask themselves why they always mess things up will always find reasons to confirm their insecurities. They'll live in a loop of self-blame and regret. But the people who ask how they can rise, can contribute, how they can grow through the fire, they're the ones who break free. Because when you control the question, you take command of the emotion behind it. That's emotional leadership, inner mastery. And this isn't about ignoring reality. This is about upgrading your perception. If you keep asking, why is this so hard? Your brain will show you every reason life is unfair. But if you ask, purpose in this moment, what's my into meaning? You shift into mission. You raise your standard. The situation may not change, but your power inside of it does. Greatness isn't born in perfect conditions, born in the chaos, the noise, the doubt, but only when you ask the right questions that pull you out of survival and into significance. When your back's against the wall and everything feels like it's falling apart, don't ask what's wrong. That's possible. Don't ask who's to blame. Ask what you can take ownership of. That's what warriors do. That's what leaders do. That's what powerful people do when the pressure hits. You have to condition this. Just like you train a muscle, you train your mind through repetition. Start every morning by asking better questions. What am I proud of right now? What am I excited about? Who do I love and who loves me? What's one thing I can do today that makes progress inevitable? Ask these questions daily and your emotional baseline will shift. Carry yourself differently. Speak differently. Act with more purpose. Because the emotional storm can't shake someone who's anchored by powerful internal questions. Difference between those who stay stuck and those who rise isn't just circumstance. It's focus. And focus is dictated by the questions we ask when life puts us under pressure. Master your questions, and you master your mind. Master your mind, and you master your world. Every event in your life, good, bad, certain, uncertain, has one thing in common: it's neutral until you assign it meaning. The moment something happens, your brain rushes to interpret it. Was that failure a sign you're not good enough? Or was it a lesson that prepared you for your next breakthrough? Did that betrayal destroy you? Or did it wake you up and teach you who you really are? See, not the event that shapes your destiny. It's the meaning you give to it. Two people can go through the same experience, yet one will rise and the other will fall. The difference isn't in the event, the interpretation. That's where mastery begins. You can't control everything that happens to you. Life is unpredictable, people are flawed, and setbacks will happen. But what you can control, what you must control, is what you decide it all means. If you decide that every challenge is an attack, you'll always be in defense mode. Decide that every rejection is proof you're not enough, you'll never step forward. But if you choose to believe that everything is happening for you, not to you, you unlock the greatest superpower a human can having emotional freedom. Because when you assign empowering meanings to painful situations, you transform suffering into strength. This isn't about living in denial. It's not about sugar-coating reality, about rising above circumstance with awareness and choice. When something hard hits, the first instinct is to react, to get angry, to shrink, to blame, to spiral. But if you pause in that moment, even for a breath, And ask yourself, what else could this mean? You create space. And in that space, you can choose a story that empowers you instead of weakens you. That's the moment you stop being a victim. That's the moment you become the author of your life. Every master, every leader, every resilient person you've ever admired, what sets them apart is the way they interpret struggle. They see pain as a path to purpose, turn wounds into wisdom. They use the darkness as fuel. It's not because they're lucky. It's because they've trained their minds to assign powerful meaning to the events they can't control. Through that meaning, they regain control of themselves. Think about it. Someone loses their job. One person spirals into despair, saying it proves they're worthless. Another sees it as the push they need to pursue their dream. Someone goes through heartbreak. One person closes off and never loves again. Another decides that this experience will teach them to raise their standards and love themselves first. The same event, two completely different paths, because the meaning was different. And meaning shapes emotion. Emotion shapes behavior. Behavior shapes results. That's the chain of transformation. You have that power in every moment, even in the most difficult ones, especially in the most difficult ones. The moment you stop asking, why me? And start asking, what is this here to teach me? Is the moment everything shifts, because now you're no longer trying to survive. You're growing. You're evolving. You're choosing to lead yourself, life, instead of being used by it. When you look back on your life, you'll see it clearly in the moments that felt like the end were really the beginning. Pain that felt unbearable became the foundation of your strength. The losses that broke your heart made room for deeper love. But you don't have to wait until years later to see that truth. You can choose to see it now, can choose meaning now. That's the discipline of emotional mastery. It's not just about positive thinking. It's about powerful choosing. In the middle of a storm, you can say, this is how I discover who I really am. When you're being tested, you can say, this is where I grow stronger. When everything is uncertain, you can say, is my chance to build my certainty from within. You can rewrite the narrative in real time. Because your story is not written by what happens. It's written by how you interpret what happens. Meaning isn't passive. Meaning is a weapon. And when you wield it with awareness, you become unshakable. Your mind is a record keeper. It stores everything, every failure, every victory, every moment you back down, and every moment you rose up. But here's the truth. People spend the majority of their time replaying their failures, their mistakes, their disappointments. They stack their worries. They build emotional skyscrapers made of self-doubt, anxiety, fear, and regret. And every time they face a new challenge, that emotional weight drags them back down. It becomes a loop, a mental pattern that says, see, you've always struggled, always fallen short. That's the narrative that keeps people stuck. But what if you flip the script? What if, instead of stacking everything that's gone wrong, trained yourself to stack everything you've done right, everything you've overcome, every little step forward, every small victory, every time you did something hard when it would have been easier to quit? Because those wins, they're there. You've survived pain. You've overcome obstacles. You've shown courage even when nobody saw it. Problem is never that you haven't succeeded. The problem is that you've never stopped to celebrate it. You haven't made a habit out of reminding yourself who you really are when it counts. Stacking your wins means becoming the curator of your own confidence. It means waking up and remembering on purpose that you've done difficult things before. It means scanning your memory not for everything that went wrong, but for everything that showed you that strength lives inside you. The mind will always find evidence for what it believes. So you must feed it belief that fuels you, not belief that breaks you. If you constantly review your shortcomings, your mind will conclude that you're unworthy. But if you review your wins, it will conclude that you're powerful. And power isn't something you find, it's something you remember. Stacking wins doesn't mean living in delusion or ignoring challenges. It means you consciously build your internal momentum, because confidence isn't some gift handed to the lucky. It's built through repetition, through emotional conditioning. And it starts small, got up when you didn't want to. One day you stayed calm when your emotions screamed at you to react. One day you took action even though fear tried to paralyze you. Stack that, write it down, revisit it. That's the fuel. That's the reminder. That's the mental proof that you can do it again, and do it bigger. The mind, when left unchecked, will default to fear. It will whisper stories of not good enough. And what if I fail? That's the voice of doubt, not truth. Your job is to build a louder voice, a voice fueled by stacked proof that you are capable, you are disciplined, that you are evolving. You can't wait for the world to validate you. You must become your own evidence. Every step forward is a deposit in your emotional bank account. Stack enough of them, and you'll have the confidence to face anything. When you walk into a room with stacked wins in your heart, you move differently. You speak with clarity. You act with certainty. Not because you're perfect, but because you're grounded in truth. The truth that you faced hard things and kept moving. The truth that you failed. Yes, but you've also ground. Truth that you've been afraid and still moved forward anyway. That's the foundation of resilience. That's the emotional armor that makes you unshakable in the face of adversity. Start making it a ritual. Every day, 3 wins, big or small. Did you keep your word to yourself? Did you stay calm in a stressful moment? Did you take one step toward your goal even when it was uncomfortable? Stack it. Celebrate it. Own it. Because what you reinforce gets repeated. What you repeat becomes who you are. Most people wait for the big ones before they give themselves credit. Champions know it's the stacking of small wins that creates unstoppable momentum. Even in the middle of chaos, you can pause and remind yourself, I've been here before. I've handled worse. I've got this. That's not arrogance. That's built confidence, earned through evidence. Stacking your wins builds emotional certainty, and emotional certainty is what separates those who thrive from those who hesitate. Moment you wake up, your mind starts receiving signals. Before your feet even hit the ground, the tone for your entire day is already being set. Most people begin their morning in reaction mode. Checking their phone, scrolling through news, emails, notifications, stress. From the first minute, they've handed over control of their emotional state to the outside world. But the mind doesn't operate randomly. It operates on patterns. And the pattern you start your day with becomes the blueprint for how the rest of it unfolds. If you want to live with power, clarity, purpose, and emotion under your command, must prime your mind before the world gets a chance to pollute it. Priming isn't a motivational gimmick. It's mental conditioning. It's the way warriors prepare for battle, athletes prepare for the game, leaders prepare to lead. It's not optional. It's foundational because your mind left on autopilot will drift toward chaos, fear, and distraction. But when you take 10, 15, or even 5 minutes every single morning to get intentional, when you breathe with purpose, move your body with energy, flood your brain with gratitude, clarity, and focus, you create emotional leverage. You set the tone to yourself. This is my state. This is my standard. This is who I am. It doesn't require an hour-long routine. It requires consistency and intensity. It starts with movement. Physical movement, because motion creates emotion. Whether it's jumping jacks, push-ups, stretching, or power walking, the goal is to break the sleep state and activate your physiology. When your body moves, your blood flows. Your heart rate rises. Your chemistry shifts. Your brain wakes up to possibility instead of problems. You move with purpose, and your state begins to align with certainty and power. Deep, intentional breathing, whether it's a 4-4-4 box breath, fire breaths, or focused exhales, oxygenates your system, calms your nerves, centers your focus. Breathing grounds you, reminds your nervous system that you're safe, strong, and in control. When you master your breath, you master your response. When you master your response, you become immune to outside chaos. Gratitude is next, non-negotiable. The mind cannot experience fear and gratitude simultaneously. When you shift your focus to what you're deeply, emotionally grateful for, whether it's your health, a person you love, an experience you've had, or simply the breath in your lungs, you prime your heart for expansion instead of contraction. You start the day remembering what's already good, already working, already beautiful, and that emotional state becomes a filter. Instead of seeing lack, you see abundance. Instead of reacting, you begin responding with grace and intention. Now your mind is in a state of readiness. This is when you visualize, not wishful thinking, strategic, empowering, crystal clear visualization. You see yourself executing. You see yourself leading. You see yourself walking into difficult conversations with strength, delivering under pressure with confidence, handling the chaos with unshakable calm. You don't just imagine the result, you feel the energy of being that person who makes it happen. And through that repetition, Your brain builds certainty. Your nervous system starts treating that future as if it's already real. And when the moment comes, you don't hesitate, you perform. Then you set your intentions, not a to-do list of being list. Who do I want to be today? What emotion do I want to lead with? What energy do I want to bring to others? You write it down, you speak it out loud, you anchor it in your body and your voice. Your words shape your identity. You don't wait for the world to dictate your day. You declare it before the day begins. This isn't a ritual for perfection. It's a ritual for power. Life will still throw curveballs. Things will go wrong. But when you've primed your mind, your response is different. You don't get shaken by every little challenge. You don't default to stress or panic. Fall to power, because that's the state you trained this morning. And just like a muscle, emotional strength is built through repetition and intensity. Every day you miss it, you drift further from your edge. Every day you own it, you sharpen your mental sword. The most successful, fulfilled, and resilient people don't leave their emotional state to chance. They engineer it every single morning with discipline, intention, and intensity, because they know the first battle of the day is won or lost before the world ever wakes up.